Good afternoon. Today I'm going to make sausage stuffed, well no, I guess it would be acorn stuffed with sausage and tomato and garlic and jalapeno. We're going to do a little southwestern. We're going to stuff these, and then I'm going to have some just plain rice on the sides with maybe some baked rolls. And no, I'm not going to make my own rolls. I get them from the store and I cheat. I bake them. But we are going to make these from scratch, and they're going to be nice and healthy and tasty. One is not quite enough for two, so we might have a little bit, maybe leftovers, but you'll be going with me and we'll see what's going on. As you know, we've been remodeling our kitchen, and you can see the floor is pretty much done. We need to do a little bit of touch up on the paint. But we're now working on our, I should say my husband. I am going to do the painting. He's doing all the hard work. So anyway, while we are, while I am working on these, warming up and browning the sausage and getting all the interior part of the stuffing done, I am going to actually set the alarm, or not the alarm, but the oven to 425 and let that heat up, and that's what I'm going to bake it on. I'm going to cut the tops off, and then we're going to stuff the inside. I've just got to take the inside of that out, and then we're going to put the middle in there to bake it. And I actually used this sucker without cutting my fingers off. I hope I didn't jinx myself for the next one. Okay, so I've actually got something to stuff now. I couldn't figure out how to bake them, so I found a loaf baking pan. I put the water in the bottom, like you always do with squash, and now all I have to do is stuff the dang things. Okay, so we have a half of jalapeno here, and some of it I left the seeds in, but I kind of seeded about half of it. Then I've got a full big clove of garlic, about a fourth of an onion chopped. Now I'm going to put those in. I'm going to take those over here and put these in the pan with it was not quite a tablespoon, about a teaspoonful of olive oil. Now I'm going to let them kind of simmer in here while I'm getting the sausage ready and the tomatoes. So I'll just get this all coated right here. Tomato, I'm actually going to chop it really small, so I'm going to take the seeds out of it. So I'll go ahead and cut these into strips and chop them. Now you can see how small I chopped that. That garlic piece up there is waiting for the rice. But anyway, this is now going to go into the frying pan. And we're going to stir that around. It's time to add the sausage to brown. Now it's all mixed up, and I've added a little bit of pepper. You add the pepper and the salt to actually taste. You don't need to like half a teaspoon or anything. It's how much you want. Now, in this recipe, you could actually use ground turkey, you could use bison, you could use lamb, hamburger, or as I have, sausage. And another thing I'm going to put in is pepper, chili pepper, and cumin, I believe, if I have any in my cupboard, and then probably a little basil. While that is cooking, I'm actually going to salt and pepper the inside of this a little, so it's a little seasoned. And then I'm going to get ready for the so while I'm waiting for the other to cook, what I did was I salt and peppered the inside of this, and then now I'm going to get ready for the rice so that the rice is ready to cook while it's baking. What you have in your stores, but if you've got a Smith's or a Ralph's or a Kroger or something, you might be able to get a Labrie bakery. And I'm just going to bake 2 of these, and while I'm cooking the squash, and just to go with it, and then I will save the other 2 for tomorrow's dinner. This is ready to stuff into the acorn squash. It's all nice and brown and ready to go. Okay, so they are stuffed and it was perfect. I used a half a pound of hot sausage. You can use mild sausage. And then you know how much I used of the rest. And so I'm going to bake it for about 20 minutes, maybe a little more. And while I'm baking it, I am going to make our rice to go with it. And so I'm just getting that started right now. I have a little oil and some salt in the water. It's 2 cups. And I used approximately one big, well, you saw how big the clove was. So I'm going to use the clove and then just a little bit of, not even a fourth, probably an eighth of a cup of chopped, really thin sliced chopped onion. And to top off the acorn squash, we're putting a little bit of shredded Colby cheese, well, Colby Jack cheese on it. All right, we've got the rice going. I'm going to turn it down to simmer, and then when it's a little, probably 10 minutes into it, I'm going to add the garlic and the onions. Alright, so the rice is just simmering. I put the onions and the garlic in there, and I put a little basil and salt and pepper, and now it's just simmering. Here is the end result, and it's ready to go.